Globally, we will experience an economic shock that will spark civil unrest and riots. You came here for the truth, so let me unveil that for you. Let's get into some updates today from around the globe, and I'm going to show you how the problems we experience today are leading to this civil unrest and riots right now. So we'll get into the New York Times article first. Report of growth in Europe helps nudge the S&P 500 to a new high. So everyone can pop their champagne and celebrate because once again, the central banks have saved the day. A slight gain was enough to push the stock market to new closing highs on Friday. They climbed as a rebound in oil prices helped energy stocks move higher. A report that showed growth had picked up faster than forecast in the fourth quarter of last year seemed to lift investor sentiment. These things can change in an instant. How many times you have to read the news and it seems like there have been such drastic changes from one moment to the next, but we know that nothing from the fundamentals have changed. So let's get into that. And this is out of the AP. U.S. budget deficit running 6.2% higher than last year. They said everything was okay in the last article, and here they are, 6.2% higher. The federal government ran a bigger deficit in January, pushing the imbalance so far this budget year to up to 6.2% from the same period a year ago. The deficit widened to nearly $200 billion from the same period last year. Can you imagine a $200 billion deficit widening in such a short period of time here? We're not able to cope with this amount of debt. It simply cannot be paid back. There's a lot of information in this article I will not get to, but it will be good for you to read if you're interested in this type of information out of Reuters. This is talking about Greece and how the ECB Governing Council extended a cash lifeline for Greek banks for another week, authorizing the extra €5 billion in emergency lending assistance. That's the ELA I've talked about before here on the channel, by the Greek Central Bank. They did not want to accept any money from the Troika, but apparently they were willing to accept money from the Greek Central Bank by the ELA system that they've set up here. So that's going to give them another week, and they can delay this further on into the future, which is exactly what I said would occur. They're going to buy time. They're going to keep going on this until they can get the deal that they can compromise on. They want to reverse austerity in their nation, and that is what the new government is trying to do. What they will actually accomplish is yet to be seen. I believe that what they need in Greece and what every country need is what I spoke of in my book. And I said the system expanded to an incredible level which has now plagued the worldwide markets with a disease that can only be cured by an economic detox. And this is the truth when we look at what is happening with the amount of debt that has been piled up in Europe as well as the US, and practically every country around the world is experiencing more debt now than they did at the point of the financial crisis. I've showed you the statistics that show we are worse off than when Lehman Brothers collapsed. So we'll move on here. The outgoing head of the Dallas Federal Reserve called Wednesday for major changes to the central bank's power structure, arguing that current policy fuel perceptions that big banks have too much influence with the regulators. And their solution here is that we need to distribute evenly the Fed's 12 regional banks. We can't have the New York Fed running the show. That can't be done. We're going to spread it out everywhere. And the fact is that it's the simple fact that the central bank itself has all the power with no transparency. That's where the problems come in, not because of any of this other silliness that they're talking about spreading around. This is the reason why they set up the Federal Reserve with these 12 regional banks. But of course, they just go and they say things like this to make you think that they are actually changing policies. But of course, the policies are not only federal, but they are actually global. So we're going to move on to another article about central banks. That central banks purchased enough gold in 2014 to buy 75 Boeing Dreamliners. This is huge news right here out of Bloomberg. Governments added nearly 500 metric tons to their reserves, the second biggest increase in 50 years, and 17% more than a year earlier, according to the World Gold Council. If you're not already on their report, I highly suggest going over to the World Gold Council website. Sign up. They send you emails very infrequently, and it gives you an update on gold, where it is in terms of investment, in terms of jewelry, and they send you a quick little synopsis, and then of course you can read on and get the actual full details. But it is very valuable information if you're interested in where gold is headed. So they have an increase that has not been seen for 50 years now. Why? One of those reasons is that they are taking advantage of a price that is low compared to what it's been over the past couple years. So they're definitely taking advantage of that and adding to their reserves. At the same time, they seem to be deleveraging in US debt, at least in the recent past, and of course diversifying out of the debt type instruments into real assets. That's what I've been noting anyway. Another central bank which has been doing some interesting work is the Swedish central bank. Sweden has cut interest rates below zero and launched quantitative easing to fight deflation, becoming the latest Scandinavian state to join Europe's escalating currency wars. Something that I've been warning about consistently. Number one, the currency wars, the fact that there is quantitative easing taking place all over the world, and of course, not only 0% interest rates, but they're going negative. And that is what's happening. Denmark, with the negative interest rate on mortgages, we have multiple so-called assets that are giving out a negative yield, and here the Swedish central bank is bringing the rates below zero, and this is when you know that the system is ready for a collapse. Right here, the Riksbank caught markets by surprise, reducing the benchmark lending rate to a minus 0.10% and unveiled its first asset purchases, vowing to take further action at any time to stop the country falling into a deflationary trap. So here they are, the real economy begins to slide downward, and the central banks come in to pick up the pieces. But they're going to be left with the IOUs that I've talked about before, showed the diagrams in my book, and essentially they are there to pick up those pieces with those printed up currency, and they're left with the IOUs, and eventually it becomes nothing but worthless confetti. Lots of information in here. Many people, many commenters have brought this up, so I definitely wanted to mention it in the videos. Extremely important information that is occurring right now. Now, what happens when you have people who experience a hyperinflation, experience high levels of inflation? Well, let's look at Venezuela for what's going to happen. This information extremely important because you see that even the pharmaceutical drugs, even the most basic of essentials that the people of Venezuela need, are now unavailable. The shelves are empty, and this is going to cause a major upheaval. Take a look at this article right here out of the Telegraph. Clashes in Venezuela as economic shortages continue to bite. And this individual here is obviously clashing with the police, and this is something that has happened in Greece. It happened in Rome. It happened in London. It happens in every country around the world. Even Brussels, they had some scuffles that occurred not too long ago, and again, it happens for different reasons, but economic problems are definitely among this list. And look at Venezuela going well over 60% in their inflation rates. The store shelves are completely empty. All of the food, all of the supplies that they need are rationed to the point where people need to line up for hours upon end just to get the basic essentials. And this is not going to end well. When you put the controls on the people on this system, you're going to have a very big problem. This is what worries me very much for the United States, for many other countries around the world that are experiencing the deflation that is taking place. And then that's when the central bank comes in and tears apart the printing press, runs it at full blast 24/7, 365, and you end up with this type of situation that you are looking at on the screen right now. I wanted to include another article right here talking about the Keystone pipeline. And essentially, they gave the final passage to the bill to approve the long-pending Keystone XL pipeline, a measure that goes to President Barack Obama, who has vowed to veto it. So we're going to see what happened. They wanted to go through, but of course, Obama and Warren Buffett are buddy-buddy. Now, if you don't know, Warren Buffett is partnered up with Obama in many instances, but essentially the rail that he owns through his subsidiaries are shipping much of that oil, and essentially he's profiting from this. So of course the pipeline is going to be bad news for Warren Buffett, even though he said no, it doesn't. It's not like that at all. They're not a competitor, so on and so forth. So we'll see where this goes. I just wanted to make note of it in this video right here. Very crucial information to see how it all plays out. If you found this video informative, I'd appreciate a thumbs up. Just remember that I read all of the comments. I appreciate every single one of you. I'm trying to get back to all the comments, or as many as I can. It's becoming very, very difficult, in fact, right now, to reply to all the comments, but I do try to get to some every day if I can. I try to reply to my new method is now to reply to the current day's video as well as the previous day, and just try to get through a few and then move on. I'm trying to get into more of the programs of the Money GPS to help the people far and wide. I have found that the consultations I do, while they're great, while they're amazing, I do want to help more people at the same time. So if I make videos or different programs that are essentially answering the same amount of questions, I can get to a whole bunch of people all at once. And that is my goal, to expand this, to make this the financial education that we simply never had in school. That's my goal. And I'm really grateful to have many fans on here, many subscribers that want to take this journey along with me as we continue to be students of economics, of the politics, and want to look deeper into this. So I will see you all on here, and I will reply to all your emails as much as I can. I'm trying to get through them, and I will bring out as many videos as I possibly can. Let's get into the last point, which is, if you're not an insider already, you have to be, because that's the place where I give out all my best intel, and it's for free. And that is available at themoneygps.com. You just scroll down to the bottom, fill in your email address, and you get occasional emails from me with good, short, concise info.